Hi there, I'm Christine Dunbar from speechmodification.com, and this is my Smart American Accent training. In this video, we'll look at the letter S and the different sounds it makes. We'll talk about sample words for each of the sounds and give you some guidance as far as rules for spelling and pronunciation for the letter S. So we think of letter S and we think of the S sound, like in say or Sam, and this is typically what letter S does at the start of words. So one thing that you can count on is at the start of a word, or S initial or S at the beginning is going to be usually the S sound. So that's probably why we think of it as saying S. However, when the letter S is in the middle or at the ends of words, it often says something other than the S sound. So some examples for the S sound include words like say or said, yes or us at the end, or missing in the middle. The error that you may often make is to make this S sound in other cases. Here's some words. I'd say the second most common sound for the letter S is the Z sound. We think of letter Z when we think of this sound, and we do spell it as Z at the start of words typically. So if we have in the beginning of words, you expect to see the letter Z if you have the Z sound. But at the ends and the middle of words, often letter S makes the Z sound. So I would say at the end of the word, it's probably more common for the letter S to say Z than it is to say S sound. We'll talk about why this is true for plurals and verb forms, and we'll talk about that in a moment. Right now, just some examples. Letter S says the Z sound in was or is. It says Z in these or those. And in the middle of words like president or resident, etc. Then we have a couple of less common cases. S will sometimes say the sh sound. I've written that here for you with letters SH. At the start of words, typically we spell the sh sound with SH. There are some exceptions like sure or sugar. We only have the letter S for the sh or SH sound. And then in the middle of words, we have examples like mission, etc. that have where letter S says the SH sound. You can look in the dictionary to know what your letter S is saying and look for the IPA symbols. So when you see this tall, skinny S, that represents the sound sh. When you see the Z, that represents the Z sound, and S represents the S sound. So learning to read the symbols in your dictionary. These are IPA symbols. Some dictionaries will have a different symbol, but it's pretty typical to see S and Z for S and Z, and they may have SH or this IPA symbol sh for the SH sound. And then lastly, we have what I like to call the voiced SH sound, or ZH, the zh sound. This is also not at the start of words, or not spelled with letter S at the start of words, but letter S will say zh in words like usual or casual or vision. And so one of the issues that happens is if you learn a word by reading it, you may have a tendency to overgeneralize and say the S sound for letter S, when in fact it might be a Z or a sh or a zh sound. So how to know which to use. Typically, it's helpful to be able to read the dictionary, as I said. Also, you can learn the common words that have S and Z. Those are going to be the two most frequent sounds for the letter S. And then you can learn these exceptions where it's a zh sound or a sh sound, and that should set you up well. When you encounter a new word and that you've never heard, you can look it up in the dictionary, look for the symbol, listen to the recording of the word, listening for words around you. The tendency is to be able to hear these differences, typically, depending on your native language. So at the beginnings of words, the most common is the beginnings of words are fairly straightforward, which is where if you see S at the start, you're very likely to have the S sound. The exceptions, of course, were those words like sure and sugar. Not too many of those. So usually S at the start of a word is going to say S. In the end of the word, S is usually going to say either S or Z. And it's actually Z a little bit more often, I think, than it is S sounds. That's because often we add the letter S to the ends of words to make it plural, to do verb forms, and the rule for that is that when there's a voiceless sound, so for example, a t, a p, a k, or a f, then we have a s sound. So for example, if I'm making cat and cats, I'm going to have that s sound. That's because when I say s, my voice isn't on. There's no vibration here. And when I end a word with no vibration, it would be difficult to say cats, to put the voice back on, cats, picks, etc. It's just natural to leave the voice off. And so for plurals that have this, or verbs like pick or kick, the letter S is going to say this sound when you add it to a voiceless sound. When you add it to a voiced sound, like b, d, g, j, any vowel sound, there's many more voiced sounds than there are voiceless sounds at the ends of words, then the sound is going to be the Z sound. So that's where we get into words like pigs. We have a Z sound there because the G in pig is voiced. Or needs. He needs to go. And so you have many verbs, many nouns that have the letter S at the end that actually have the Z sound. I talk about this more in my videos for plurals and for present tense third person verbs so that you can get used to that distinction at the ends of words. It is just very common to see the Z sound. One thing to note, when I'm making that Z sound at the end, it doesn't have to be a strong sound. So when I say cats, this sound is strong. Cats has a forceful S sound with a lot of noise. I have 3 cats. Versus when we're ending on the Z sound in a word like pigs or needs, that's what he needs. He has 3 pigs on his farm. We're not making a strong Z, not the same kind of Z we make at the start. So if I say I have 0, 0, my voice is on, it's a strong Z, versus that's what he needs. You can hear how my Z is a voiced sound, but it turns into a voiceless at the end, and it's a weak sound. What I don't want is a strong S there. So if I have a light, weak S, that's what he needs, or he has 3 pigs. That light, weak consonant there is correct. Where you hear the strong Z sound is if I say his needs are great. As I link, my Z is a little bit stronger. So just be aware that you might not have been aware of this Z sound at the ends of these words because people aren't making a strong Z. I'm not saying that's what he needs. That would sound unnatural as well. But I have to be careful to say not say that's what he needs. If I'm making a strong S, it's going to sound incorrect. Again, I talk about this in some of my other videos, and you can learn more about the S sound and the Z sound in our Sounds of English course on speechmodification.com. There we walk you through all the nuances of letters and sounds, spelling, and pronunciation. And it's a great way to be more confident when you're pronouncing English, to be able to have that foundation for all of the sounds. You can find that on our website, speechmodification.com. It's our Sounds of English course. Okay, so at the ends of words, most common to have letter S, say S or Z. And then in the middle, the medial S, that's the one that's most complicated in terms of not really having a lot of rules and patterns. One thing I can say is that for the ends of words, if you have 2 S's, like miss or glass, it's going to be the s sound. And so if you have those same two S's in the middle, like in missing, it will stay the s sound. So if I take a word and I have another version of the word, then I typically keep that same pattern. Often we have the s sound spelled with letter CE at the end. So I was thinking about a word like placing, place and placing, keep the s sound. When you're just looking at the letter S, it can do different things. And depending on the verb, it will make a different sound. So for the S in the middle of words, I think it's good to just learn which ones say Z. And there aren't as many. There's more, letter S says more frequently in common words than it says Z. Those other exceptions are zh sound and our sh sound in the middle, also a little less common. So if you learn those few exceptions, that should be helpful for you. In the middle, you can count on a lot of sounds and then a few z sounds. For example, president, resident, residual, etc. So just be aware that your letter S in the middle will often say s, but sometimes it will say z or sh or zh. Thank you so much for watching this video, for your support, liking, commenting, asking questions. That really helps me know which videos to create for you and what lessons to teach. I will be back tomorrow with our daily Word of the Day video, as well as on Saturday, we'll have our live question and answer class for you. In that class, you can attend, put your questions in the chat, and I'll answer them for you live. You can get more help for the other sounds of English, as I mentioned, here on the channel and also in our Sounds of English course on speechmodification.com. Looking forward to seeing you in our next class. Thanks so much. I'm Christine Dunbar from speechmodification.com. Remember, if you want to sound like a native speaker, you can do it. speechmodification.com. Bye, everyone. Hope to see you again soon.